Welcome back, people. Once again, we're here to give you some great edutainment on video branding and how to brand your firm if you're a wealth management advisor. I'm Sid, the spectacular. I'm here with the righteous, robust Ed Rob in the building. I couldn't think of
Rob
anything that really
the
started with Rob.
Red, please.
Rob the Red. Okay, Rob the Red. Yes. And today we're gonna do some reaction videos. These are some things we've been telling you guys to do. So we're going to do some reaction videos. We're going to go on YouTube and we're going to look at the thumbnails people have on their videos. And we're going to tell you if they're good or bad. And then we're going to explain why they're good or why they're bad. Because no one's going to stop on your video if you have a bad thumbnail.
That's true. I mean, click through is the number one first line of offense when it comes to getting your video seen, right? Because they're gonna check that thumbnail, and if they see that thumbnail as something that looks kind of interesting to them, they're gonna stop, and then they're gonna look at that title, right? So then it's like a two-step process. It's like, okay, thumbnail got me. Does the title make me want to go through with it? And then that's how you end up with your click-through rates, right? And then we'll talk about things like impressions and things like that as we go along today. But I'm super excited because we have a random selection of thumbnails to look through today, Sid, because we do something that probably no other company in wealth management does. We have a YouTube that literally follows every wealth management company's YouTube.
There you go. So we know. And look, I will say this. If you can't have a good or a great thumbnail, you need to have an absolutely horrible, tremendously horrible thumbnail.
That's true.
Because it's something about a train wreck that grabs attention.
Yes.
Why do we have 6 Sharknadoes and 5 Leprechaun movies? Because they are horrible. So if you can't make a good thumbnail or a great thumbnail, lean into the horrible, because people will click on it because they go, what is this piece of garbage? Ooh.
It's true. Now you're gonna have some kind of negative association resonance when it comes to that.
Right.
So you're gonna have a bigger, steeper hill to climb when it comes to the person coming in there. But if your whole shtick is just leaning into the cringe, like, did you watch that Dr. Tom video I sent you the other day? The music guy from Seattle who just like must have spent his entire doctor budget in a year just pumping out his music for one day on YouTube. He was literally on almost every single ad I watched for one day. It was hilarious. And his music videos suck. They're just awful, but they're so bad. They're good.
Everybody likes terrible things. I watch almost every Sharknado. I'm not going to lie. So, if it's a train wreck, make sure it's a train wreck, lean into the train wreck. And the first thing you say when you get in that video is, I knew that would work. Now that I got your attention, let's talk about something good. Flip the script. But with that being said, no more taking up your time talking about what we're going to do. We're just going to do it.
All right.
Rob,
let's
jump
go
right
through
into YouTube and look at some thumbnails. And look, we're not going to be biased. If we come across one of ours, if it's a bad one, we got a couple of bad ones out there. We'll tell you why that one's bad.
Yeah, no, there's a couple bad ones in here, but that's not the focus. Is like whether it's good or bad, right? Like the focus is really more on, is it something that we can teach about? It's not that we're criticizing because we want you to feel bad about it. We're criticizing because, as we learned on the LED podcast, you can't be mad at free advice. And so our personal and professional opinions here can be incredibly valuable to you and your marketing team if you choose to listen. All right.
We're like that coach that's telling you messed up that play. We're not on you just to be on you. We're on you to go, hey, look, here's how you can improve, or here's what you can do so you don't fall into the same trapping with someone else.
All right. So let's start with our buddies here at Retirement Planners of America. We see that they have the main thing on there is a gentleman who looks like he's in a very instructive pose. Behind him, you have kind of a nouveau decorative wall, right? You know, you see this a lot in upscale wealth management firms' lobbies.
I would just say it's a nice patterned wall
Yeah.
with a, nice design wall. I don't know if it's Art Deco, if it's,
Yeah.
Victorian. I don't know any of those.
It's
I'm
got
not in that
good
industry.
leading lines.
Yeah, there you go. The leading lines are important.
Yeah. I mean, they're coming right down to kind of like draw your eye into where he's at. And Sid, what do we call that position that he's in there?
That is the power position.
That's the power third he's on right there. That's the your eye immediately goes to the power third, the left third of the screen in almost every instance, right? Your eye is drawn there. So, you have your title kind of up here in the top of it.
The great thing about I think this is a very strong thumbnail because, like, to Rob's point, you have a person in the power position on the left third. You have strong, bold branding of your title. They're using all of the check marks that marketing and advertising use to draw the eye in. Gives you a great chance for people to click on that video, especially with a great title like Your Path to Financial Peace of Mind. Everyone wants peace of mind
Yeah, that
or
is a
peace of
really
mind.
strong title. So Sid, can you point out what aspect of this thumbnail is supposed to be a mirroring effect?
I would say the person walking holding a little briefcase right there in the middle of the screen.
Yep. They want you to resonate as a person who is probably a business owner, hence the briefcase, is probably uh, a person who is in that approaching retirement phase, right? Like hence the gray hair. And mostly, I think is that a woman? I can't see on my screen if that's a woman. I
I
think that's
can't
a
tell
woman.
either.
So a big part of the reason why that is because as we know, a large portion of the people who are getting into uh, wealth management these days are women. So it's really kind of trying to mirror all of those aspects of an ideal client profile, right? So
It's a lot of women out here that aren't spoken to, that are in the C suites running businesses and at the highest levels of business that aren't being catered to. So let's cater to this specific demographic. Did I say Pacific? I'm sorry, West Coast. Specific demographic, and that's where they at. So I rank that a good to really good thumbnail for this video.
yeah.
And I think they will get what they are looking for as far as click through rate and getting people to stop and the impressions that they have.
So, just to recap what we love about this particular thumbnail, it's incredibly personal because they have the individual personality right there on the power third. They have a very strong title written right there in the top right hand corner, and all of those leading lines kind of pointing you to the two main characters, one, the personality, and the other, the one who's supposed to mirror the client that's interested in this video. So all around, an incredibly effective thumbnail.
All right, what's next? Let's move on to the next one.
All right. So just let's move right over to the right here because I think a lot of companies might, in this day of artificial intelligence being able to just spit out a thumbnail really quickly, might think, good enough is just good enough. And the good folks at Savant have really supplied us with an excellent example here of, I believe, a thumbnail that misses the mark completely. It looks pretty, it's definitely on brand, but as far as drawing you in and making you want to click through, it's not really doing it for me. What do you think, Sid?
I would agree. First off, it looks so plain. It looks like a flyer that someone will put on my car when I'm at a restaurant or something, and when I open it, it tells me a menu on the inside. Doesn't the image on there, I get it, preserving generation wealth, you put the tree,
Right.
hint back to the family tree.
It just looks like an infographic. Immediately looking at this, you get the feeling like they're going to bore you to tears with all kinds of statistics and stuff like that. They're not really going to get to the heart of what is preserving generational wealth and what's it for. You can put a picture of a heart in a tree and it has the symbolism, but the symbolism's not really as beautiful as maybe a photo of two generations sharing some moment together, right? Or even as we saw from the previous example, put a personality from Savant up front on the thumbnail so that people have this idea of appeal to authority. Who is this person who's going to be instructing me through this, right?
Right. And m- motion creates emotion. Showing a family, two family members, multiple generational families, showing them holding each other, you feel something. And that's all what you want when people are scrolling. You want them to feel something, even if it's for that slight second. And the previous one, you have this feel of excitement. He got the hand up like this. He's doing this for a reason, even though he's still, it looks like he's in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And motion creates emotion. So if you want people to have that emotional tie or something that clicks to you, because money's emotional. Money's emotional. It's a reason why people who can spend money for the rest of their life and never go broke still have financial advisors. It's because they have an emotion that says they're going to lose it. So to spend that emotion and share some emotion, make sure it's some emotion in your picture and not just a flat, plain stock. I get it's your corporate color or your company colors and all that, but it's just not doing it for me.
Yeah, just because it's on brand doesn't mean it's helping the brand, you know?
Right, right.
So let's go on to one that I think is kind of a ringer, right? And that would be from our buddy Dave Ramsey. He's kind of like Jim Cramer in the aspects of like, the loudest voice tends to be the one that people want to listen to, right? He insults his guests sometimes, and he's built an empire on financial advice. So to look at what he's doing in the world of financial advice might tell us something about what we can do in the world of financial advice. So, Sid, what are you thinking here? Immediately, we've got two dudes on there, nice bright colors, and a big title.
I think he's a master, like you said, he's a master of what he does. He's the Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd of the financial industry. He does a thing what you call negging, right? That's a
Mhm.
big thing, negging,
Yep,
and it works. Let's throw something negative out there that's going to catch you to
totally.
click on it. And that big, huge lost over 70,000 is going to drive that. You got the guy on the left who looks like I might have lost $70,000. Then you got the guy on the right with the mic who looked like he's explaining this is how he lost the 70,000.
Yeah,
So
he
you're
looks
like,
like
wait a
he's
minute.
about to tear him up, right? Like, oh, I can't
Exactly.
wait to tell you how stupid
Exactly.
you are.
So what he's doing is they're using that reality TV niche of we know it's a train wreck and it's coming. Let me show you the train wreck so you can click on here and see exactly what happened when the train crossed the tracks.
Yep, yep. It's like I was talking about earlier, this one is actually a good example of it, right? Where they use that really flamboyant statement on the thumbnail, but it doesn't necessarily match the title down here. It's a tag team, right? Lost over 70,000 is like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. And then when you come down and read the title, it reinforces that. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money by giving you this feeling of like hopelessness. I'm tired of losing money. Double neg, Sid, right?
Right. And it's something that people agree with. Some people are like, yeah, I'm tired of losing money too.
Yeah, right? Super relatable statement. Super relatable statement. So I think there's a lot that our audience can learn from watching people who are doing this professionally for the for the benefit of entertainment specifically, right? Like yes, it needs to be educational, but if it's not entertaining, you're really going to miss a large part of the clients that you're trying to reach.
I stole this word from KRS One, and I like to use it all the time. Edutainment, education, entertainment, edutainment. If you're not going to be entertaining, people aren't going to get the education because they're not going to sit through it. You know, you can't get you got to put a little bit of sugar in the castor oil, right? Sometimes you got to sweeten them up so they take what they need.
I was looking while you were saying that over at the thumbnail next to it and thinking, you know, this should be kind of similar, a slam dunk, but it misses in kind of a bunch of ways. Wouldn't you say so?
I think it does. I think it does. They have the title of the winning formula is great. How they have it sitting out is great. The difference is they just didn't blend everything together. Like for example, if you take that same font and title, the three people on there, and you just put it on that blue and yellow
Yeah.
over another one, now you got a great thumbnail.
Yeah.
But for right now, the winning formula kind of sticks out. The people are there, but the background destroys everything
Totally.
with them all
The
together.
first thing you see is that sign that says the big table, right? It doesn't really like have anything to do with the rest of the scene. That red and green kind of motif is cool because it matches her outfit, right? And you know, she's a good, strong personal character placed on a third. It's not the power third, but it's a good third there. And you know, you I would say when you have the two people on the left, right? You have the blonde lady in the center and the guy on the left there. It starts to just get busy. It just feels like there's too much going on in this thumbnail here, right? Like, whereas you look at the Ramsey thumbnail, yeah, it's there's a lot going on there. You have a logo, you have the title, you have the cards, and then behind the little color cards there, you've got like the Dave Ramsey logo. Like there's like a weird S kind of positioned over the guy's shoulder. And honestly, that was one thing that kind of immediately I was like, "Ooh, I don't know." But you can't nitpick just like this one weird S hanging out over this guy's shoulder when you look at the thumbnail directly next to it is just so much distraction taking away from the personalities in the thumbnail.
Exactly. And to your point, if you flip that picture, put her in a power position, take that background, mute it, two solid colors or one solid color.
Yeah. Just a
All of a
complementary
sudden,
color.
she pops out and they pop out. Because I can tell you, when I looked at this on the Dave Ramsey, the first person, as you see when I brought it up, the guy on the left, the guy in the glasses, that's the first person I looked at. On this one, the guy in the back, the third guy is the first one I looked at because that's where your eyes are drawn to. So it's a good, it hits the, we can work with that, like, all right, you didn't lose, but you didn't win with that thumbnail. But a couple of little small ticks and changes, and that could be a really good thumbnail.
Yep. And you know, it's interesting because you go to the thumbnail directly next to that one. We'll go to the right of that one. We'll check out this Baird one over here. And it's almost more effective because of the single individual there, right? Like if you're trying to get a young sort of bookwormish looking finance guy to be excited about working for Baird Capital, right? Like he's going to see this guy and be like, well, there's a lot about him that visually I can relate to. Now, I would say that they're really missing out on the double whammy there where like you don't have anything written in the thumbnail to complement that we can all make an impact, which is written down here in the title, right? So, I mean, what I would love to see is like this guy's first name, let's call him Jim, is like Jim makes an impact daily, you know? Like something like that. There's so much that you could say about this individual, and then we can all make an impact, I think is would be really about bringing the audience in there.
Yeah, add a little something else to there. It I would say I couldn't tell you if that's a thumbnail or if that's just the one that YouTube picked and caught him in the middle of stuff.
For sure.
The winning formula probably has a little better chance. Just the fact it says the winning formula, it gives me more of a chance that I might look at the title to go on. But both of those in my doom scroll, I'm probably skipping both of those. The only two I'm looking at is the first one we talked about and that Dave Ramsey one.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's not a lot of curb appeal to either, but I do think that if you look at the one on the right, you can make that a lot better pretty quickly just by using some simple AI correction, right? You remove the person over his left-hand shoulder, maybe you cut him out from the background and make the background like more of an opaque but solid color, right? You know, like so that it represents that blue baird company branding, right? And you just kind of you could really make it much more powerful, but the fact that it's just a single individual there, I think it gives you that ability for that mirroring effect much easier than this one over here where it's three different individuals. They're obviously of different ages, different sexes.
So one's doing too much, one's doing too little. Let's see the shorts. Let's see if we got some
All
shorts.
right.
I know
Let's
shorts.
look at shorts because
Shorts
one
is
of
a
these
little bit hard
things.
because a lot of people don't make thumbnails for shorts.
No.
Some people do, but most people just upload their shorts. But let's look at shorts and see what we can find.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sid, is like most people don't make thumbnails for shorts. Normally shorts are fed to people in a doom scroll, right? And then they're sort of thrown away afterwards. Um, I think though, a moment of brilliance occurred in one of these short thumbnails down here where you were talking about it earlier, Sid, is like if you're going to make a thumbnail that's bad, make it horrible. Whoa, I'm sorry, Laurel. That is Laurel, right? That's the same one? I think that's the same one. Yep. Uh that is the worst way to come in on a thumbnail.
Hey, matter of fact, her and the one on the left, whose eyes are closed and like she's smiling and doing a Stevie Wonder, you
Yeah,
know. But guess what? You're gonna get clicked on. You're gonna click on Laura because you're just like, what is going?
exactly.
Hold on. You might even get a couple of shares off of that one. You might get a couple of shares because people gonna go, hey, how many views has that got on there?
Yeah, well, this 1.6 thousand. And when you look at her long form content, like 38 views in 7 hours, she's not going to do this much. These numbers are huge for her channel comparatively speaking to what she's going to do here. The long form contents for the education, short form contents for visibility, right?
Yeah. Now, do you think that thumbnail might have something to do with some people sharing that? Because every time you click on it, she's getting impressions. Every time
Yeah,
it starts talking, you getting impressions.
that's true. No, YouTube's really good at being able to parse out the difference between an impression and an actual view, right? So if you hover over this, watch, it'll go for a little bit, but it's going to start over. So
That's what I'm
that
saying. Impressions. I
impression
didn't say
won't give
view.
them a full view.
I said impressions, not a view.
Yeah.
Let's go. What else we got over here? What else we got over here?
All right. So let's scroll down so that we can get into something just like that feels random because literally we follow everybody. Okay. Let's talk about Crescent right here, right? Crescent is a family office, so they're not casting as wide a net as regular wealth management companies anyway. So I think that says a lot about the reach of YouTube's platform, Sid, when a family office that we know how niche the services a family office provides are, uh, feels like there's a lot of value being on YouTube. Um, you should probably take notice of that.
Yeah. And as far as this thumbnail goes, I give this you're trying, you just missed. You know, the titling, the big huge letters, great, very visible. But how it stands on there needs some help. And then it just looks like, I'll tell you, you know what this looks like? It looks like you're watching a newscast and they just came in and over the lady in red who's newscasting, and it was like about our family government's education, like it was an emergency alert.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
it, it
I think it's giving off busy vibes again because, you know, like you have the painting behind her, you have whatever this desk is over here in the corner. And then about our family governance and education services. That is just a mouthful of a title, right?
it is. It is. I do applaud them for actually, doing something unlike the person on to the left of them who's just like, oh, we're just gonna upload it to YouTube. YouTube gonna take a screenshot where, you know, in the middle of here. Their word, they actually made a thumbnail and did it. So I applaud the effort. Here's some tips on how to make the effort a little bit better.
The problem is when you have them in these little thumbnail boxes still, the personalities are very small, right? And then especially when you have to deal with situations like bad lighting where these guys were obviously dealing with, you know, the guy on the left is dealing with an overhead light that's kind of giving him that sunken eyeballs effect. And the guy on the right is almost in complete shadow comparatively speaking, right? On top of that, like you don't have a title to kind of draw you in, and there's like nothing like to kind of give you that double whammy when you look down underneath it, right? So I think when you look at
Nobody wants to be like, hey, I'm just gonna watch these two guys Zoom meeting.
yeah,
It looks like a Zoom meeting. Nobody's
yeah.
excited to go into a Zoom meeting.
And again, like we're down here with wealth enhancement. The personalities are bigger in this thumbnail, right?
Right.
Like you get a better idea, but then again, like you're dealing with some really harsh lighting scenarios that aren't all that appealing. Where when you come back over to how Crescent did it in this thumbnail, I think they nailed it.
Yeah. A lot better. No busy background. The only one thing I would say, sometimes you just gotta switch the picture, put her in the power position. But yeah, keep her on 1/3, smaller title, boom.
Yeah, and
It
I mean
plain
it's
and
a
nice and
really
smooth.
strong title too. I mean, like you know exactly what you're gonna get with this video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Think they pulled it off on that one.
Yeah.
Let's do one more and then let's get them out of here because we already had them for half an hour. We
Okay.
don't want to keep them too long.
You know, I think this actually this whole row here I think says a lot about, you know, the way thumbnails are put together and what actually makes them interesting. You can be really close on the formula and just kind of do something wrong and miss it completely, right? The middle one misses by a huge margin. But the two on the left and the right are Copley Financial Group and Fisher Investments. Copley, you got a big personality. He's on the power third, so you're immediately drawn to that really charismatic smile he's got there. But you know, the background is busy, busy, right? Maybe just one chart, you know, like you don't have to have all the charts that you're going to show in the video be in the background in the thumbnail. Just my personal opinion. And then the odds of being positive in a stock market, the odds of being positive in the stock market, right? Like this is just too damn small. And one thing that a lot of people just don't realize when they make titles is that you're going to be competing with this little counter down here. So try not to put your thumbnail titles in a place where they're going to have to compete with this real estate there.
Let's hear about the Fisher Investments over there on the far right.
Yeah, you know, I think this one, as far as design elements go, has got the most going for it from a design aspect.
The three is huge. Um, it's the urgency. The urgency is something. Three things you need to learn this week.
Yep.
Right? This week,
Yep.
not in the future. This week. What am I gonna miss? It's giving you FOMO vibes right off the bat.
Totally.
FOMO, what am I gonna miss out? Is it something that's coming up on Saturday that if I don't get into it right now that I'm gonna miss out on? That FOMO drives the click rate. The FOMO drives the click rate. And click and hover over the video one time. Cause I see something cool. Look, and right in there, it starts throwing that 3 right at you. So
Yep. It's a great design element.
knew what was in the video and they used that 3 in the thumbnail to really click out. Now I don't know what this barge has to do with what's going on, which
I
is
know.
something we might learn going into it.
I know. That's the thing. There's two areas here where if I've got to criticize, I got to criticize. The personality that, is Ken Fisher Investments, like you almost want him in every single thumbnail, but because that's an appeal to authority, right? Like he is an industry authority. And so every time you put him in the thumbnail, you automatically have that appeal to authority and people who believe in following his advice. The next thing is like that double whammy of the title in the thumbnail and the title in the actual title under the video, right? Is like 3 things you need to know this week. Really great appeal to urgency. But then in the title, make me feel like you're going to answer it right away, right? Like, here, we know exactly what's coming. Give me something that entices me beyond that, because like really, you're wasting real estate there when you double up that title there. As far as the barge goes, it's an interesting choice because if you're not going to have the personality there, you know, it makes you think like, okay, has to do with shipping, does it international markets? It really takes you to some specific areas. So if this was intended specifically to be inside baseball, right? Stuff that other advisors would geek out on, I don't hate the barge, right?
Hate the barge either. I'm just saying the barge is confusing not having watched the video yet. We might get into the video and it might have a lot to do with what's going on. So like I'm not hating the barge.
Totally. I
That
just
was the
think
one thing that like, okay.
Yeah, I just think you like if you're like a regular old investor and like Fisher is casting such a wide net, they have a lot of uneducated investors who just want to know what Fisher's going to say, right? So
hold on, mind blown. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but mind blown.
Okay,
I get the barge now.
okay.
They're casting a wide net.
All right, folks, come for the critique, stay for the dad jokes. But yeah, the big thing I think we should leave people with is this, right? Is like, because thumbnails are such a huge part of what gets people to watch a video online, you gotta stop putting the bare minimum effort into it, right? Start thinking about it like there's a process and a best practices to it, just like there is everything else in the industry. And I think you'll start to see a lot better returns on your video investments.
Yeah. And I would say this, if it takes 2-3 hours, study the videos that make you click. Study what influencers do on their videos and how they make their thumbnails pop out. Study that, create a template of how you want it to go, and then just use that template and change things up. As you see, a lot of these guys have this very similar thumbnails or similar templates on all of them. We do the same thing. The thing is finding it the first time. Craft the first one. Take the time on the first one to make sure that it pops, and then you can continue to use that in different forms.
Yep. All right. I think that should do it for today. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know that this was a long one, but I hope you guys got a lot out of it. There's a lot to learn when it comes to getting into YouTube and building an online brand.